Welcome to Storic, where every story finds its voice. Step into a world of unforgettable audio stories, from chilling horror and gripping mysteries to heartwarming romance and timeless classics. Put on your headphones, press play, and let the story begin. They say every apartment has memories. Some hold laughter, some hold heartbreak. But apartment 1308 held something else, something that didn't want new neighbors, it wanted new names. When Daniel Harper moved into the cheapest apartment in Seoul, he thought he had found a fresh start. Instead, he found a building where tenants disappeared without a trace. The 13th floor officially didn't exist, and every night, at exactly midnight, someone knocked 3 times. The terrifying part? Whatever was outside the door already knew his name. Welcome to The New Tenant. The New Tenant. Author, David Mercer. Rain fell over Seoul like a curtain that refused to lift. The taxi stopped in front of Hanul Heights, a 15-story apartment building hidden behind rows of aging ginkgo trees. Water streamed down its cracked concrete walls, washing over faded numbers that had long since lost their shine. The building wasn't abandoned, but it carried the unsettling silence of a place that had forgotten what laughter sounded like. Daniel Harper stepped out, gripping the handle of his single suitcase. The driver looked at him through the rearview mirror. "You've never lived here before?" Daniel shook his head. The driver hesitated. "You should leave before midnight." Before Daniel could ask why, the taxi disappeared into the rain. He stood alone. The apartment manager opened the front door before Daniel had a chance to knock. She looked to be in her late 60s, dressed neatly in gray, her silver hair tied into a perfect bun. Everything about her seemed ordinary, except her eyes. They carried the exhausted look of someone who hadn't slept peacefully in years. "You must be Mr. Harper." Daniel nodded. "I'm Mrs. Han." She handed him a small brass key. "No electronic locks here." Daniel smiled politely. "I don't mind." She didn't smile back. Apartment 1308. They entered the lobby. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead with a faint electric hum. Every few seconds, one flickered, throwing strange shadows across the marble floor. Daniel noticed something unusual. There wasn't a single family photograph, welcome sign, or decoration anywhere inside the building. Only empty walls, as if nobody had ever wanted to leave a memory behind. Mrs. Han walked toward the elevator. It was old enough to have metal accordion doors instead of automatic ones. She pressed the button. Nothing happened. "It works," she said softly. "You simply have to wait." After nearly a minute, the elevator groaned awake. The doors slid open. Inside, Daniel noticed something odd. There was no button for the 13th floor. Only 12, then 14. He frowned. "I thought you said apartment 1308. Mrs. Han looked at him. "I did, but the elevator doesn't stop there." She pointed toward the staircase. "You'll need to walk the last flight." Daniel laughed nervously. "Interesting design." Mrs. Han didn't answer. When they reached the 12th floor, she stepped aside. The stairs are at the end of the hallway. She refused to go farther. Daniel climbed the final flight alone. The staircase felt colder with every step. The air smelled faintly of wet concrete and something metallic, like old coins or dried blood. At the top, a narrow corridor stretched into darkness. One ceiling light blinked slowly. On either side stood apartment doors painted the same dull gray. 1301, 1302, 1303. Every number looked scratched by hand. Then, 1308, the door at the very end. Unlike the others, its paint looked new, almost fresh. Daniel unlocked it. The apartment surprised him. It was clean, modern, almost luxurious compared to the building outside. Someone had even left fresh flowers on the kitchen counter. A handwritten note rested beside them. "Welcome home." No signature. He searched every room. Nothing unusual. No hidden doors. No strange noises. No signs anyone had been inside recently. For the first time that day, Daniel relaxed. Maybe the driver had only been trying to scare him. Maybe the old manager was simply eccentric. He unpacked a few clothes, made instant coffee, and sat beside the living room window. Rain continued to fall over the city below. Then, A soft knock echoed from the apartment wall behind him. Not the front door. The wall. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Daniel froze. He waited. Silence. He stood and pressed his ear against the wall. Nothing. He laughed quietly at himself. Old pipes. He returned to the sofa. Exactly 1 minute later, the same 3 knocks came again. This time, from inside his bedroom wall. Daniel sat frozen. The 3 knocks echoed through the bedroom wall with impossible clarity. Knock, knock, knock. Not the dull vibration of old pipes. Not the rattle of loose plumbing. Someone or something had knocked from the other side of solid concrete. He grabbed a flashlight from a suitcase and walked slowly toward the bedroom. The apartment had suddenly become unnaturally quiet. Even the rain outside seemed to have stopped. The bedroom door stood half open. Inside, nothing had changed. The bed remained neatly made. His suitcase lay exactly where he had left it. No broken walls. No hidden door. No footprints. Daniel pressed his ear against the wall. Cold. Far colder than the rest of the apartment. Then, a whisper, so faint that it barely sounded human. Don't answer. Daniel jerked back. His heart hammered against his ribs. Who's there? Silence. He searched every inch of the room. The wardrobe, under the bed, inside the bathroom. Nothing. Feeling foolish, he opened his laptop and searched for Hanul Heights apartment 1308. Only a handful of results appeared. Most were old rental listings. One caught his attention. Tenant missing after moving into Hanul Heights. The article was 12 years old. A university student named Lee Min-soo had disappeared 3 days after signing his lease. Police found the apartment locked from the inside. His wallet, his phone, his clothes. Everything remained. Only Lee himself was gone. The investigation ended without answers. Daniel clicked another article. A businessman had vanished. Then a nurse. Then an elderly couple. Always apartment 1308. Always without explanation. He leaned back in disbelief. Coincidence? Old rumors. The internet loved haunted buildings. Just as he was about to close the browser, another result appeared. It wasn't a news article. It was a discussion forum. The title read, "If you ever live in 1308, never knock back." The original post had been deleted. Only the replies remained. My brother lived there for 1 night. He kept hearing 3 knocks. He answered. We buried an empty coffin. Daniel felt a chill crawl up his spine. Another comment simply read, "The apartment learns your name before it takes you." Someone else had replied, "Delete this." Every account that had participated in the discussion no longer existed. He closed the laptop. Enough. He wasn't going to let anonymous ghost stories ruin his first night. The digital clock beside his bed read 11:57 p.m. 3 minutes to midnight. Outside, thunder rolled across the city. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then everything went dark. The power had gone out. Daniel cursed under his breath and switched on his flashlight. Its beam cut through the darkness. The apartment suddenly felt much smaller. The silence pressed against his ears. Then, the elevator began moving. He couldn't see it, but he heard it. The old motor groaned somewhere inside the building. It climbed slowly. 4th floor, 5th, 6th. The cables screeched with every level. Daniel frowned. Mrs. Hahn had said the elevator never stopped at the 13th floor. Yet, it kept climbing. 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. The sound continued. Higher. Impossible. There was no button for 13. The elevator stopped. Directly outside his apartment. A metallic ding echoed through the hallway. Daniel stared at the front door. Someone had arrived. Very slowly. 3 soft knocks came from the other side. Knock, knock, knock. A woman's voice spoke through the wood. Soft, polite, almost comforting. Mr. Harper. Daniel's blood turned to ice. He had never told anyone in the building his first name. The voice continued. I brought something you left behind. He didn't answer. The woman giggled quietly. I know you're inside. Another pause. Then her tone changed. Lower. Colder. Open the door. Daniel stepped backward. His phone buzzed in his pocket. One new message. There was no sender. He opened it. Only 5 words appeared on the screen. Don't let her see you. Before he could react, the bedroom closet door behind him creaked open by itself. Then the phone vibrated again. Another message from the unknown sender. Don't look through the peephole. Almost instinctively, Daniel turned toward the front door. 3 more knocks echoed through the apartment. Knock, knock, knock. The woman's voice returned. I'm getting cold, Daniel. Her tone sounded gentle, almost caring. I only want to talk. Daniel backed away from the door. He had never told anyone his full name. Not Mrs. Hahn, not the taxi driver, not a single neighbor. Yet the woman spoke it as if she'd known him for years. Another message appeared. She isn't alone. The knocking stopped. Silence filled the apartment. After nearly a minute, Daniel convinced himself whoever had been outside was gone. He waited another 30 seconds before carefully approaching the door. His hand hovered over the peephole. The warning flashed through his mind. Don't look through the peephole. He hesitated. Curiosity won. He leaned forward. The hallway was empty. No woman. No footsteps. No elevator. Just a dim corridor lit by a flickering fluorescent tube. Daniel frowned. Then the figure moved. Not in the hallway. Inside the peephole itself. A pale eye open on the other side. Watching him, Daniel stumbled backward with a cry. A loud bang struck the door. Once. Twice. 3 times. The doorknob twisted violently. The lock held. Then everything stopped. Daniel stood motionless, barely breathing. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. His phone buzzed again. This time the message was different. You looked. She knows your face now. His fingers trembled as he typed. Who are you? For several seconds, no reply came. Finally, apartment 1408. Daniel stared at the screen. There wasn't a 14th floor. At least, not one he had seen. The elevator had skipped 13 entirely. Confused, he opened the apartment door just enough to look into the hallway. Empty. Completely empty. He stepped outside. The corridor stretched silently in both directions. The fluorescent light buzzed overhead. Every apartment door was closed. He walked toward the staircase. Halfway there, he noticed something strange. Apartment 1306 had a small wooden nameplate. Every other apartment number was bare. The nameplate read, Hart family. Someone still lived here. Daniel knocked gently. No answer. He knocked again. Footsteps approached from inside. The door opened only a few inches. An elderly man peered through the gap. His face turned white the moment he saw Daniel. You moved into 1308. Daniel nodded. The old man's expression changed from fear to pity. You should leave. I can't. I signed a 1-year lease. The old man shook his head. No one stays a year. What do you mean? Before he could answer, a woman's voice called from deeper inside the apartment. Who's there? The old man froze. He looked terrified. Then he whispered, so quietly Daniel almost missed it. Never answer if she calls your name. The door slammed shut. The deadbolt clicked. Daniel stood alone. As he turned back toward his apartment, he noticed something impossible. At the far end of the corridor stood a woman in a white coat. Her long black hair covered most of her face. She wasn't moving. She simply stood there, watching him. Daniel blinked. She was gone. Only the flickering light remained. Trying to calm himself, he hurried back into apartment 1308 and locked the door. His heartbeat slowly returned to normal. Then he heard it. Not from outside, not from the hallway, from inside the wall beside his bed. A woman's voice, soft enough to sound like breathing. I've been waiting. The wallpaper bulged outward, just slightly, as though someone on the other side had gently placed a hand against it. Then, 5 fingers slowly pressed through the wall, not breaking it, not tearing it, simply emerging beneath the wallpaper, as if the concrete itself had become skin. Daniel stumbled backward, his flashlight slipping from his hand. It hit the wooden floor with a dull thud, its beams spinning wildly across the bedroom. The hand beneath the wallpaper remained perfectly still. 5 long fingers, perfectly human, perfectly impossible. Then, one by one, the fingers slowly curled into a fist. The wallpaper flattened. The hand disappeared, as though it had never existed. Daniel stood frozen for nearly a minute before forcing himself to move. He rushed toward the wall and touched it. Solid concrete. Cold. No cracks. No moisture. No sign that anything had pushed through from the other side. His breathing became shallow. "This isn't real," he whispered. "I'm just exhausted." He grabbed his jacket and keys. Whatever was happening inside apartment 1308, he needed fresh air. He unlocked the front door and stepped into the hallway. The corridor was silent. The flickering ceiling light had stopped blinking. Everything looked almost normal. Daniel hurried toward the staircase. But when he reached the fire exit, he stopped. The metal door wouldn't open. He pushed harder. Nothing. He looked at the emergency handle. A thick layer of rust covered it. It looked as though no one had touched it in decades. Impossible. People lived on this floor, didn't they? A metallic groan echoed through the building. The elevator. Daniel turned. Its accordion doors were slowly sliding open. Warm yellow light spilled into the hallway. Inside stood an empty elevator car. The floor indicator above the doors glowed with a single red number. 13. Daniel's stomach tightened. There had never been a 13th floor button. Yet somehow, the elevator had arrived there. The doors remained open, waiting, almost inviting. His phone vibrated. Another message from the unknown sender. "Do not enter the elevator." He stared at the screen, then back at the open elevator. As if responding to his hesitation, a voice echoed from inside the cabin. Daniel. It was his mother's voice. Gentle, warm, impossible. His mother had died 11 years ago. Tears filled his eyes before he realized what he was hearing. "Daniel," the voice called again. "Come home." He took one step forward, then another. Every instinct told him something was terribly wrong. Yet hearing her voice awakened memories he had buried for years. The smell of fresh bread, her laughter, the way she used to hum while cooking. The elevator seemed to glow brighter. "Please, we've been waiting." Daniel reached the doorway. Something felt wrong. The elevator looked deeper than before. Much deeper. Instead of a small cabin, it stretched into a long corridor that disappeared into darkness. The walls inside weren't stainless steel anymore. They were lined with faded wallpaper. Apartment wallpaper. Footsteps echoed somewhere within. Slow. Dragging. Approaching. His phone buzzed violently. A new message flashed across the screen. "That isn't your mother. Run." Daniel snapped out of the trance. He staggered backward. The warm light instantly vanished. The elevator doors slammed shut with explosive force. The building shook. The elevator shot downward, not one floor at a time. It dropped impossibly fast. The floor indicator flickered. 12, 13, 14, 15. Then, -1, -2, -3. The numbers kept changing. There was no basement, no underground parking. Yet the elevator continued descending. Finally, the indicator went completely blank. Silence. Daniel backed away from the doors. His entire body trembled. Someone spoke behind him. "You almost went." It was Mrs. Hahn. She stood at the end of the hallway, holding an old lantern instead of the flashlight she usually carried. She looked older than before, more tired. "Come inside," she said quietly. "We don't stand in the hallway after midnight." Daniel hurried toward her. "You knew this would happen." Mrs. Hahn lowered her eyes. "I've seen it happen." "To who?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she handed him a yellowed photograph. It showed a group of smiling residents standing in front of Hanul Heights decades earlier. Daniel scanned the faces. Then his heart nearly stopped. Standing in the center of the photograph, smiling directly at the camera, was Daniel himself, wearing clothes from another era. His hair was different. His face looked younger. But there was no doubt. It was him. On the back of the photograph, written in faded ink, were 6 words. "Residents of Hanul Heights, Spring 1983. Daniel stared at the old photograph. His hands trembled so violently that the edges of the paper rattled. "No!" He looked again. The man standing in the center had his face, his eyes, even the small scar beneath his chin. The one Daniel had gotten at 12 years old after falling off his bicycle. It was impossible. The photograph had been taken in 1983. Daniel was born in 1992. "This isn't me." Mrs. Hahn remained silent. "You've said that before." Daniel looked up sharply. "What did you just say?" She sighed, as though she regretted speaking at all. "The building has a way of bringing people back. I've never been here. You don't remember. Before Daniel could ask another question, Mrs. Hahn took the photograph from his hands and folded it carefully. Go back inside. Do not leave your apartment until sunrise. And whatever you do, she hesitated. Don't look into any mirror after midnight. Daniel frowned. What happens if I do? Mrs. Hahn's expression hardened. It won't be you looking back. Back inside apartment 1308, Daniel locked every bolt on the door. He pulled the curtains shut. The digital clock glowed 12:41 a.m. His apartment suddenly felt different. Smaller. The silence was no longer comforting. It felt like someone was holding their breath. His phone had no signal, no internet, no emergency service. Only the mysterious messages continued arriving. She's inside now. Daniel spun around. Nothing. The living room was empty. The kitchen stood exactly as before. Yet, he noticed something he was certain hadn't been there earlier. The bathroom door was open. He remembered closing it. Slowly, he walked toward it. The light inside flickered weakly. The mirror above the sink reflected the empty room. Daniel stopped in the doorway. He remembered Mrs. Hahn's warning. Don't look into any mirror after midnight. Ridiculous. It's just a mirror. Keeping his eyes lowered, he reached inside and switched off the bathroom light. Darkness swallowed the room. As he turned away, he caught movement in the mirror. Just for an instant, his reflection hadn't moved with him. Daniel froze. His back was facing the mirror now, yet he could feel someone staring. Against every instinct, he looked. His reflection stood exactly where it should, except it wasn't copying him anymore. The reflection remained perfectly still. Daniel slowly raised his right hand. The reflection didn't. Instead, it smiled. A slow, impossible smile. Daniel stumbled backward. The reflection tilted its head. Then it lifted its own hand. Not Daniel's movement. Its own. One finger touched the inside of the mirror. A soft tapping echoed through the bathroom. Tap, tap, tap. 3 taps. The same rhythm as the knocking. Cracks spread across the mirror's surface. Not from impact. From the inside, something was pressing outward. A pale hand appeared beneath the fractured glass. Then another. Daniel slammed the bathroom door shut. The tapping stopped instantly. He backed away, gasping for air. His phone buzzed. Don't break the mirror. Another message followed immediately. It's trying to change places with you. Daniel's heart pounded. Change places? A loud crash exploded somewhere above him. Then another. Furniture scraping across a floor. People running. Someone screaming. The noise came from apartment 1408. But there wasn't supposed to be a 14th floor. The ceiling shook. Dust drifted down. A child laughed. Right above his head. Then came the sound of a bouncing rubber ball. Thump, thump, thump. Slow, rhythmic, moving from one end of the ceiling to the other. Daniel looked upward. The apartment above him didn't exist. Yet someone, or something, was playing directly overhead. Suddenly, the ball stopped. Silence returned. A tiny voice whispered from above. So, you finally came back. Before Daniel could react, every reflective surface in the apartment changed at once. The television screen, the microwave door, the dark window, even the polished kettle on the kitchen counter. Each reflection showed the same thing. Not Daniel, a pale woman in a white coat, standing directly behind him, breathing, smiling, and in every reflection except one. She was getting closer. Daniel spun around. Nothing. The living room was empty. No woman. No footsteps. No sound except the frantic pounding of his own heart. He turned back toward the dark television screen. The reflection had changed again. Now it showed only him, or at least something that looked like him. His reflection wasn't breathing. Daniel placed a trembling hand on his chest. His own breath came in short, uneven gasps. But the figure in the reflection stood perfectly still, watching, waiting. Then it blinked. Daniel hadn't. The lights throughout the apartment suddenly returned. Every bulb flared to life at once. The reflections disappeared. The television became an ordinary black screen. The kettle reflected nothing more than the kitchen. For the first time in hours, Daniel felt the apartment relax around him. His phone buzzed. Another message. Daylight is safe. Night remembers. He glanced at the clock. 6:03 a.m. Morning. The nightmare was over. Or so he hoped. Outside, Hanul Heights looked surprisingly ordinary in the daylight. Children waited for school buses. An elderly woman watered flowers near the entrance. A delivery truck unloaded groceries. The building seemed completely different from the place Daniel had endured overnight. Mrs. Hahn was sweeping the lobby. She looked up as he approached. "You survived." Daniel frowned. "Is that unusual?" She didn't answer. Instead, she handed him a folded newspaper. It was dated October 14th, 1983. Across the front page was a grainy black and white photograph of Hanul Heights. The headline read, "7 residents vanish during power outage." Daniel unfolded the paper completely. His stomach tightened. Among the missing residents was a man named Daniel Harper. His photograph stared back from the page. The same face, the same eyes, the same scar beneath his chin. Daniel looked at the publication date again. Nearly 40 years before he was born. "This is fake." Mrs. Hahn spoke quietly. "I wish it were." Determined to find answers, Daniel visited the city's public records office. The young archivist searched for nearly 20 minutes before returning with a thick folder. "Hanul Heights." She frowned. "That's strange." "What?" "There aren't any construction records before 1984, but the building existed in 1983. She shook her head. "Officially, it didn't." Daniel felt another chill. "What about the missing residents?" The archivist hesitated. "Those files are restricted." "By whom?" She checked the screen again. "No agency is listed." Daniel thanked her and left. As he stepped onto the sidewalk, he noticed a little boy sitting alone on a bench across the street. No more than 8 years old. He wore a neat school uniform. His backpack rested beside him. The boy smiled. Daniel smiled politely back. Something felt wrong. The child hadn't blinked once. Not a single time. Daniel crossed the street. "Are you waiting for your parents?" The boy nodded. "They're still upstairs." "Which apartment?" 1408. Daniel's blood ran cold. "There isn't a 14th floor." The boy giggled softly. "There is after midnight." Daniel crouched beside him. "What's your name?" The child tilted his head. "I don't remember." "How long have you been waiting here?" The smile slowly faded from the boy's face. "A very long time." Daniel noticed something that made his stomach twist. The child's school uniform was old. Very old. The style belonged to another decade. A name tag was sewn onto the pocket. Kong Min Jae-yuen. Daniel suddenly remembered seeing that name in the newspaper. One of the 7 missing residents. Age 8. Missing since October 1983. His pulse quickened. You can't be. A bus drove between them, blocking Daniel's view for only a second. When it passed, the bench was empty. The boy was gone. Only a faded red rubber ball remained where he had been sitting. Daniel picked it up. Written across its surface in black marker were 3 words. "Found you again." His phone vibrated violently. A new message appeared. This time, it wasn't from the unknown sender. It came from his own phone number. He opened it. There was no text, only a photograph. It showed Daniel standing outside Hanul Heights, holding the red ball. The picture had been taken from a window of apartment 1408. At the bottom of the image was a timestamp. 5 minutes from now. Daniel dropped the red ball. It rolled into the gutter, splashing through a puddle before coming to a stop. His hands shook as he stared at the photograph on his phone. The timestamp read 11:18 a.m. He checked his watch. 11:13 a.m. The picture had not been taken. It was going to be. Instinctively, he looked up. The 13th floor sat hidden between the 12th and 14th, its windows concealed behind a strip of dark, reflective glass. From the street, it looked like nothing more than part of the building's design. Then he saw it, a silhouette. Someone was standing behind one of those black windows. Watching him, the figure slowly raised a hand, not waving, pointing at him. Daniel's phone buzzed. "Don't go back yet." Another message followed immediately. "It wants you inside before sunset." He spent the rest of the afternoon searching for anyone who remembered Hanul Heights before the disappearances. Most people refused to speak. Some claimed they had never heard of the building. Others simply walked away the moment he mentioned apartment 1308. Finally, an elderly bookstore owner looked at him with tired eyes. "I wonder when you come back." Daniel stiffened. You know me? The old man nodded slowly. I've seen your face before. When he disappeared into the back of the shop and returned with a dusty photo album. Inside were dozens of newspaper clippings. Missing people, house fires, unsolved disappearances. Every few pages, Daniel appeared again. Different hairstyles, different clothes, different decades. A soldier in the 1950s, a businessman in the 1970s, a college student in the 1980s, a doctor in the early 2000s. Always the same face, always the same scar beneath his chin. This has to be some kind of mistake. The old man closed the album. My father owned this shop before me. He showed me those photographs when I was a child. He said one man always comes back. The building never lets him leave. Daniel felt sick. Why me? The old man whispered one sentence. Because you built it. The words echoed in Daniel's mind all the way back to Hanul Heights. You built it. It made no sense. The apartment complex had existed decades before he was born. As sunset approached, dark clouds gathered once again over the city. Rain began to fall. By the time Daniel reached the lobby, the building was almost empty. Mrs. Hahn stood behind her desk. She looked relieved to see him. I was afraid you wouldn't return. I almost didn't. She glanced toward the elevator. You still have time. Time for what? To remember. Daniel slammed the old photo album onto her desk. Tell me the truth. She stared at the cover for several seconds, then quietly said, I've been waiting 43 years for you to ask. She unlocked a small drawer beneath the reception desk. From it, she removed a worn leather journal. Its cover was cracked with age. Embossed on the front were two faded initials. DH. Daniel opened the first page. His own handwriting filled it. Neat. Confident. Impossible. The first entry was dated March 2nd, 1983. He read aloud. If anyone finds this journal, don't trust the building. I designed it to preserve memories, but it learned how to preserve people instead. Daniel's breath caught. The next page continued. The 13th floor was never part of the official blueprint. It appeared after the foundation was poured. Every attempt to remove it failed. Every worker who entered disappeared. His hands trembled as he turned another page. If I fail, I will erase my own memories. It is the only way to escape. One day, I may return without knowing who I am. If that happens, the final sentence stopped halfway across the page. The ink ended in a jagged line, as if the writer had been interrupted. A cold breeze swept through the lobby. The lights flickered. Mrs. Hahn slowly looked toward the elevator. It's here. The floor indicator lit up. 13. The accordion doors slid open without a sound. This time, a little boy stepped out. It was Kong Minjun, the child who never blinked. He held the same red rubber ball. He smiled at Daniel. Then, for the very first time, he blinked. Once, when his eyes opened again, they were completely black. He whispered 4 words. He's awake behind you. Daniel turned instinctively. The lobby mirror reflected only one person. Mrs. Hahn. Daniel had no reflection at all. Daniel dropped the red ball. It rolled into the gutter, splashing through a puddle before coming to a stop. His hands shook as he stared at the photograph on his phone. The timestamp read 11:18 a.m. He checked his watch. 11:13 a.m. The picture had not been taken. It was going to be. Instinctively, he looked up. The 13th floor sat hidden between the 12th and 14th, its windows concealed behind a strip of dark, reflective glass. From the street, it looked like nothing more than part of the building's design. Then he saw it, a silhouette. Someone was standing behind one of those black windows. Watching him, the figure slowly raised a hand, not waving, pointing at him. Daniel's phone buzzed. Don't go back yet. Another message followed immediately. It wants you inside before sunset. He spent the rest of the afternoon searching for anyone who remembered Hanul Heights before the disappearances. Most people refused to speak. Some claimed they had never heard of the building. Others simply walked away the moment he mentioned apartment 1308. Finally, an elderly bookstore owner looked at him with tired eyes. I wonder when you come back. Daniel stiffened. You know me? The old man nodded slowly. I've seen your face before. When He disappeared into the back of the shop and returned with a dusty photo album. Inside were dozens of newspaper clippings. Missing people, house fires, unsolved disappearances. Every few pages, Daniel appeared again. Different hairstyles, different clothes, different decades. A soldier in the 1950s, a businessman in the 1970s, a college student in the 1980s, a doctor in the early 2000s. Always the same face, always the same scar beneath his chin. This has to be some kind of mistake. The old man closed the album. My father owned this shop before me. He showed me those photographs when I was a child. He said one man always comes back. The building never lets him leave. Daniel felt sick. Why me? The old man whispered one sentence. Because you built it. The words echoed in Daniel's mind all the way back to Hanoi Heights. You built it. It made no sense. The apartment complex had existed decades before he was born. As sunset approached, dark clouds gathered once again over the city. Rain began to fall. By the time Daniel reached the lobby, the building was almost empty. Mrs. Hahn stood behind her desk. She looked relieved to see him. I was afraid you wouldn't return. I almost didn't. She glanced toward the elevator. You still have time. Time for what? To remember. Daniel slammed the old photo album onto her desk. Tell me the truth. She stared at the cover for several seconds, then quietly said, I've been waiting 43 years for you to ask. She unlocked a small drawer beneath the reception desk. From it, she removed a worn leather journal. Its cover was cracked with age. Embossed on the front were two faded initials. DH. Daniel opened the first page. His own handwriting filled it. Neat. Confident. Impossible. The first entry was dated March 2nd, 1983. He read aloud. If anyone finds this journal, don't trust the building. I designed it to preserve memories, but it learned how to preserve people instead. Daniel's breath caught. The next page continued. The 13th floor was never part of the official blueprint. It appeared after the foundation was poured. Every attempt to remove it failed. Every worker who entered disappeared. His hands trembled as he turned another page. If I fail, I will erase my own memories. It is the only way to escape. One day, I may return without knowing who I am. If that happens, the final sentence stopped halfway across the page. The ink ended in a jagged line, as if the writer had been interrupted. A cold breeze swept through the lobby. The lights flickered. Mrs. Hahn slowly looked toward the elevator. It's here. The floor indicator lit up. 13. The accordion doors slid open without a sound. This time, a little boy stepped out. It was Kong Min-jun, the child who never blinked. He held the same red rubber ball. He smiled at Daniel. Then, for the very first time, he blinked. Once. When his eyes opened again, they were completely black. He whispered 4 words. He's awake, behind you. Daniel turned instinctively. The lobby mirror reflected only one person. Mrs. Hahn. Daniel had no reflection at all. The walls pulsed around Daniel. Slowly, rhythmically, each heartbeat traveled through the concrete like blood moving beneath skin. The wallpaper rippled. The ceiling rose and fell with every breath the building took. Hanoi Heights was no longer pretending to be a building. It was alive. Daniel stumbled backward until his shoulders hit the lobby wall. His older self remained calm, almost sympathetic. You've been running from this for 43 years. Daniel shook his head. I don't even know who you are. You do. The older man stepped closer. I'm what happens when you remember. Emily emerged from the darkness. She looked exactly as she had on the day she died. Her dark hair rested on her shoulders. She wore the blue coat Daniel had bought her for their anniversary. Not a scratch, not a drop of blood, just the gentle smile he had spent 3 years trying to forget. Tears filled Daniel's eyes. Emily, she reached toward him. I've missed you. Every instinct urged him to embrace her, to believe she had somehow returned. But then he remembered the message. That isn't your mother. If the building could imitate one loved one, it could imitate another. Daniel didn't move. Emily's smile faded. You don't recognize me anymore? I buried you. You buried a body. She took another step, but you never buried your guilt. Suddenly, memories exploded inside Daniel's mind. Fragments. broken pieces, a rainy highway, a flashing red traffic light, Emily laughing in the passenger seat. Then, his phone vibrating. He looked down for only a second. Headlights, a deafening crash, glass everywhere, Emily screaming his name. Darkness. Daniel collapsed to his knees. I killed her. His older self nodded sadly. You blamed yourself every day since. The building fed on that guilt. It offered you something impossible, a chance to forget. Another memory surfaced, not from 3 years ago, from much further back. Daniel, older, wiser, a brilliant architect and researcher, stood inside an unfinished apartment building. Engineers surrounded a strange chamber hidden beneath the foundation. They called it the memory vault. It was never meant to imprison people, only memories. The experiment was simple. Store traumatic memories outside the human mind. Allow victims of grief and war to heal. Instead, the chamber awakened. It absorbed more than memories. It learned fear, love, regret, identity. When the building was completed, the hidden chamber grew with it. It created a floor that shouldn't exist. The 13th floor, a place built entirely from memories too painful to let go. Daniel had tried to destroy it. Every attempt failed. So he made one final decision. Erase his own memory. Disappear. Wait for the building to forget him. Instead, it waited for him. The older Daniel knelt beside him. You've returned every few decades, each time with a new life, each time believing you've escaped. But guilt always brings you home. Daniel looked at the leather journal. So, this has happened before? Again, and again, and again, until tonight. The little boy, Kong Min Jun, walked forward carrying the red rubber ball. No longer smiling, no longer frightening, just sad. I don't want to stay here anymore. Behind him stood every missing resident. Hundreds of faces, silent, waiting. The building had never eaten them. It had trapped them inside their own strongest memories. Unable to move on, unable to die, unable to live. Daniel finally understood. This place isn't haunted. The older man nodded. No, it's grieving. The lights overhead shattered simultaneously. Glass rained across the lobby. The building screamed, not with a human voice, with thousands. Walls cracked open like skin. Long black veins spread through the concrete. The elevator split apart. From its darkness emerged the woman in the white coat, no longer wearing Emily's face, no longer pretending. Her true appearance was impossible to describe. She had no fixed features, only fragments of every person who had ever disappeared. A child's eyes, an old man's mouth, Emily's smile, Mrs. Han's tired face, all shifting endlessly. She looked directly at Daniel. You promised me your memories. I kept them safe. Now, it's time to give me the rest. The older Daniel placed the completed journal into Daniel's hands. There are only 2 ways this ends. Daniel looked up. What are they? The older man answered quietly. You can leave, and everyone here remains trapped forever. He paused. Or, you can remember everything. And if you do, you will never leave this building again. The woman smiled. The building inhaled one final, impossibly deep breath, and every light in Hanul Heights went dark at once. Darkness swallowed Hanul Heights. No lights, no voices, not even the sound of rain outside. For the first time since Daniel had entered the building, there was absolute silence. Then, a single heartbeat echoed through the darkness. Thump! The floor beneath his feet pulsed. The building was waiting. The woman stood only a few steps away, her body shifting between hundreds of stolen faces. Emily smiled for a moment before dissolving into the frightened eyes of Kong Min Jun. Mrs. Han's weary expression appeared next, followed by strangers Daniel had never met. She was every memory the building had ever stolen. Choose, she whispered. Daniel tightened his grip on the leather journal. His older self stood quietly beside him. There isn't much time. Daniel opened the final pages. The handwriting was unmistakably his own. If I ever return without my memories, I must never destroy the building. The people inside are no longer prisoners of walls. They are prisoners of me. He turned another page. The memory vault is connected to a single mind. Mine. His hands trembled. The day I erased my memories, I became the lock. The final sentence was written larger than the rest. Only the one who created the prison can choose to remain inside it. Daniel slowly closed the journal. So, if I remember everything, the older Daniel nodded. You become the lock again. And everyone else? They're finally free. Daniel looked at the endless faces surrounding him. The businessman who had disappeared. The nurse. The elderly couple. Kong Min-jun. Even Mrs. Han. 43 years. They had all been waiting for one decision. Mrs. Han stepped forward. Her eyes filled with tears. I stayed because someone had to guide you back. Daniel frowned. You were never trapped. She smiled sadly. I was. She looked toward the impossible hallway. But every time you returned, the building let me remember just enough to help you. Her body began to fade like morning mist. I've been waiting 43 years to go home. Daniel felt something inside him finally break. Not fear, not confusion, guilt. For years, he had tried to erase the worst moment of his life. He had believed forgetting would heal him. Instead, every forgotten memory had become another brick in a prison that held innocent people. He looked at Emily. This time she wasn't smiling. She simply watched him with the quiet warmth he remembered. I couldn't save you, Daniel whispered. No, she replied gently. But you can save them. A tear rolled down his cheek. I'm afraid. Emily stepped closer and rested a hand against his face. For the first time, she felt real. So was I. She kissed his forehead. Then she began to disappear. I never wanted you to spend your life punishing yourself. You deserve to live. Daniel closed his eyes. I love you. I know. When he opened them again, she was gone. Only her wedding ring remained on the floor. Daniel picked it up and slipped it into his pocket. Then he looked at the woman made of memories. I'm ready. The building inhaled. Every wall shook. Every door burst open. The impossible hallway stretched forever. The woman reached toward him. Instead of stepping away, Daniel took her hand. The moment their fingers touched, every memory returned. Not in fragments. All at once. The laboratory beneath the foundation. The impossible chamber. The decision to hide his own memories. Every life he had unknowingly lived afterward. Every return. Every failure. Every frightened face that had disappeared because he could not remember. The pain was unbearable. Daniel screamed. The scream echoed through every apartment, every corridor, every hidden room. The building answered. Its walls cracked from the foundation to the roof. Windows exploded outward. Concrete split apart. The floor beneath Daniel dissolved into brilliant white light. One by one, the trapped residents began to remember their own lives. The businessman smiled. The nurse embraced her husband. The elderly couple held hands. Kong Min-jun picked up his red rubber ball. For the first time in 43 years, he laughed like a normal child. Their bodies slowly became light. One after another, they disappeared. Not into darkness, into dawn. Mrs. Han looked back one final time. Thank you. Then she too was gone. Only Daniel remained. The older version of himself smiled. You finally came home. He stepped backward into the white light and vanished. Silence returned. 3 months later, emergency workers stood before the ruins of Hanol Heights. No one could explain why the abandoned building had collapsed overnight. No bodies were found. No record survived. Officials declared it a structural failure. The land was cleared. Within a year, a small public park stood where the apartment had once been. Children laughed there every afternoon. Parents rested beneath newly planted trees. No one remembered Hanol Heights. No one remembered apartment 1308. No one remembered the missing residents. It was as though the building had never existed. Almost. One rainy evening, a young woman sat alone on a park bench. She noticed something half buried beneath the grass. An old brass key. Attached to it was a faded metal tag. 1308. Confused, she slipped it into her pocket. As she walked away, her phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. It contained only 6 words. Welcome home. We've been waiting for you. Some stories end with ghosts. Some end with monsters. But the most terrifying stories end with a door, waiting for someone new to open it. Thank you for listening to Storic. If you enjoyed this audio story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. Share this journey with fellow book lovers, and until next time, keep listening, keep imagining. Goodbye.